So much for avenging last season's bloody irritating game against Newcastle. Instead, this season we've gone for an even more bloody irritating defeat. No huge decisions went against us, but I question a couple of decisions that Arteta made. I think we're going to do that. Anyway, click like and subscribe just to cheer me up. I'm here in Herefordshire, in the heart of the English countryside. No one for miles, so I could scream at the top of my lungs. But I don't really want to do that. I just want to kind of understand what happened today. The lineup, well, he went for Thomas Partey at right back. He went for Declan Rice and Marino in that midfield, with Kai Havertz dropping back in there. And to be honest with you, I heard somebody talk about Arteta's galaxy brain in this game, and I feel that's probably true. I think we are overthinking a little bit, and it feels like we're trying to fit certain players in. I've sort of lost the love for Trossard a little bit, if I'm honest, ever since that strange non-celebration after which he hasn't been dropped. I think that Arteta has to find his vision again. But look, today was disappointing because we lacked creativity in the midfield, and I'm going to get onto that. But obviously we lacked energy. Now, I don't know if that's physical fatigue or mental fatigue, but it's down to Arteta to be able to marshal his resources to get the best out of players. Was Gabriel fit enough? You know, what is going on at left back? Timber playing at left back, is he fit enough? When Zinchenko came on, we saw the best and worst of him, but nothing effective really. The reality is that people are starting to say about the season that we're out of the title race. And that's possible. But as I record this, Liverpool are losing and Man City are losing. So potentially, other teams could do us a massive favour and we could be at the status quo. It's 10 games in. We've lost twice. If you extrapolate this, you'd probably have to say the league season is over. But is this just a bad patch for us? Can we come good? Can we go on one of those runs we went on earlier this year? After all, this is our second away defeat this year. Or are we looking at a team that is starting to doubt and starting to not understand the directions given to them? Another thing that occurred to me watching this match, something I was worried about at the start of the season, which was letting Emile Smith-Rowe, Eddie Nketiah and Reece Nelson go, may not make a massive difference to the way we play, but it has to make a massive difference in the dressing room. Particularly to someone like Bukayo Saka, who's grown up with those guys. Certainly the chemistry in that dressing room will have changed. Has it changed for the better or has it changed for the worse? I don't know. Today we lacked creativity in midfield. We generally lack creativity in midfield. Without Martin Odegaard playing, there's no one to really link the ball. There's no one really to create that something different. Arteta doesn't really seem to like players who do that. We've tried a few different things there, but again, you know, apart from just missing him in the dressing room, did we miss Emile Smith-Rowe today? Is Sterling ever going to be trusted to have a real go at it? Is Jesus really coming to the end? There's so many questions that come out of a game like this. And the difficulty is that our midweek game away to Inter is arguably the hardest we've played outside of Man City. And I'd worry that we do the same thing away to Inter and we play all of the big players in midfield to try and win a midfield battle that ends up achieving very little if you don't have that creative spark. It was a hugely disappointing match, and as much as any of us try and find the positives in a game like that one, there's not really a lot to say positively about it. I think it's interesting that we get so much stick for dark arts, and you look at the amount of time the ball was in play when we were practicing our dark arts against Man City versus the amount of time the ball was in play against Newcastle, everybody's second favourite team, you know, the goodies. It just seems to me like if there is a champion of the dark arts in this league, it's definitely not us. And partly because I don't think we're that great at it. But it was a bitty game. First half, lots of fouls. I was waiting for the ref to get a yellow out. He controlled the game pretty well. I got no complaints. Look, I'm not saying that we should have won that game at all. Trying to put my finger on why we didn't, and I think the inquest into that is going to go on for ages, but it is worth saying that however many of us have felt really positive about this season. It's starting to ebb away. We know that this is an incredibly challenging third season for Arteta, whose team have come close twice but not got over the finish line. And now it looks like we might not get near the finish line. And so the demand now will be that he wins us silverware. Of course, we've got the game midweek against Inter, which could make up for this afternoon, but that's a fixture I don't think we ever really expect to win, and my fear is that we'll go out there and try and play solid defensively. The reality today, and since we lost Odegaard, worryingly, is that we just don't have the creativity in midfield. But today wasn't just really about a lack of creativity, it was a lack of energy. Sluggish. I don't know whether it is mental fatigue, which would of course be a worry given how much football we've played and how tough it's been emotionally to deal with. We've played 3 games this season with only 10 men for the majority of the game. You can make excuses. Arteta's job really is to marshal his squad to ensure that we are fit and ready mentally and physically for these games. We brought in Calafiori, who seems like he's got a bit of an ego, and Marino, who's taking his time to find his form, and certainly I don't think we've seen him in the right position yet. But is this squad starting to doubt a little bit? We don't have enough creative options though. Whatever else is going wrong at the moment, lining up the way we did with Partey, Marino and Rice, I think it was overkill. I think we played well enough to dominate the midfield, but Havertz and Trossard up front, ineffectual. I think playing in the wrong positions. It changed in the second half. We saw slightly more, but not enough. Questions again are going to rise about our lack of a clinical striker. You do have to wonder why Sterling was brought in at the last minute. If there isn't ever a game, if he was a plan C or plan D rather than our first choice. I know there's speculation about Alexander Isak has resurfaced and he took his goal. It's what we're missing, isn't it? We did have chances, but not enough for our possession. And honestly, I didn't really think we would win watching that game. So what does this mean for the title? Because everyone will tell you the title race is over. Now, as I record this, Liverpool are behind, Man City are behind. And if it stays that way, maybe we've got to get out of jail free card. But we've got to go to Chelsea away as well, and their tails will be up. This is a tough league to win. You can't really afford to drop points at Bournemouth. You might be able to drop 2 points away to Newcastle. But so far this season, we have not caught fire yet, and we've been made to pay for it. Given our lack of creative options, people of course are going to look at the transfer window again. People are now going to question Arteta's coaching because he tinkered a little bit today. He seems to want to do the difficult things. Changes at half time seemed absolutely necessary, and yet he gave the players another 15 minutes in which nothing changed. If anything, we took a step backwards. Newcastle were confident in their defence, but our passing was off, our touch was bad, our decision making poor, and looked like we lacked leadership on that pitch. It looked like we needed somebody to grab a hold of the game, and I really thought Nwaneri, if he'd come on a bit earlier, maybe that could have happened. There were a few touches from him and a few glimpses, but if you're a title challenging side, you can't be hoping that Ethan Nwaneri, a 17-year-old, however good he is going to get you out of jail, is going to propel you to the top of the table. So I know we're all disappointed. We're all going to have to put up with a lot of bitching, moaning and complaining about this team. A lot of questions about Arteta. A lot of people saying, I told you so, and there's only 10 games gone. A lot of people saying, don't be stupid, 10 games is enough to tell. Honestly, today, I may change how I feel about this when the dust has settled. But today, I feel an awful lot like we are out of this title race. As I said, Liverpool and City are both losing, but you don't expect them to. You know, City go a goal down. You worry for the other team sometimes. They're a goal down to Bournemouth. They look really flat. They look in first gear. Liverpool are down to Brighton. Brighton, of course, are difficult for any team. Maybe at the end of this weekend it won't look so bad. But right now, we're going to have to put up with a lot of bitching and complaining. And to be honest with you, I'll probably join those ranks to some degree, because it comes down to the manager to make sure the players are up for it. It's a Bournemouth result, we took them for granted a little bit, and the sending off. But against Newcastle, you'd say lack of leadership, lack of creativity, lack of energy, lack of determination, lack of belief. And that comes down to the manager. Maybe we win some silverware and that buys them some time. But if the season continues as it started, then Arteta's detractors are just going to get louder and more difficult to ignore. And there's a lot of us in the middle ground that could tip if it's bad enough. I really believe what Arteta's done for this club is praiseworthy, and that he's bought my faith, and I'm happy to give him time. But this is football. Have the players started to lose faith in Arteta's process? Are the fans going to lose faith in the process? Or will the Cronkies? I think if we win the FA Cup, he's definitely worth another season. But I'm not sure about the League Cup. That's arguably our best shout. But we'll see. Obviously, if he pulls off the never before achieved Champions League, he gets his face on flags all around the Emirates, doesn't he? So let's continue to hope. Let's continue to be positive, because otherwise it's just being a Spurs fan, isn't it? Anyway, I'm going to enjoy the beautiful British countryside and maybe go and shout. Till I see you again. Be lucky. Lots of love.